Good day, everyone, and especially to you, ma'am. I am Rihanna Alnar, and I will be reporting on the second half of the Chapter 16 in Belgian Brussels 1890. My report would start at the bad news from home. We have 20 slides in total, but I will just start on the ninth slide because the first 8 slides aren't part of my report. Bad news from home. The management of the Dominican Hacienda continually raised the land rents until such time that Rizal's father refused to pay his rent. Other tenants, inspired by Don Francisco's courage, also refused to pay the unreasonable rents. The Dominican order filed a suit in court to dispose the Rizal family of their lands in Calamba. Because of the news Rizal has received, his heart bled to know the sorrowful plight of his parents, brother, and brother-in-law. From Brussels, he wrote to his sister Soledad on June 6, 1890. In his moment of despair, Rizal had bad dreams during the night in Brussels when he was restless because he was always thinking of his unhappy family in Calamba. Although he was not superstitious, he feared that he would not live long. He was not afraid to die, of course, but he wanted to finish his second novel before he went to his grave. This morbid presentiment of early death was divulged by him to Marcelo H. del Pilar in a letter from Brussels dated on June 11, 1890 as follows. In my childhood, I had a strange belief that I would not reach 30 years of age. Second is, there were 2 months during which almost every night I had no other dream than my friends and relatives are dead. And third, although I do not believe in these things, and although my body is very strong and I have no illness and I have no fear, I am preparing myself for death and for any eventuality. Laong Laan or Ever Ready is my true name. For this reason, I want to finish at all costs the second volume of Nolly, and if it is possible, I do not want to leave unfinished what nobody else could continue. Preparation to go home. In the face of sufferings which afflicted his family, Rizal planned to go home. He would not stay in Brussels writing a book while his parents, relatives, and friends in the distant Philippines were persecuted. Upon hearing that, Graciano Lopez was planning to go to Cuba. He wrote to Ponce on July 9, 1890, opposing Graciano's plan of action. He said that Graciano should not go to Cuba to die of yellow fever. Instead, he ought to go to the Philippines to allow himself to be killed in defense of his ideals. Rizal added that we have only once to die, and if we do not die well, we lose an opportunity which will not again be presented to us. Decision to go to Madrid. Rizal's friends were horrified by his plan to return to the Philippines. They warned him of the danger that awaited him at home. All his friends, including Blumetrit, Jose Mabaza, and Ponce, were horrified by Rizal's plan to return to the Philippines. Rizal ignored the warnings of his friends, and no threat or danger could ever change his plan. Something, however, happened that suddenly made him change his mind. It was a letter from Pasiano which related that they lost the case against the Dominicans in Manila. But they appealed to it to the Supreme Court in Spain. Hence, a lawyer was needed to handle it in Madrid. Accordingly, Rizal wrote to Marcelo H. del Pilar on June 20, 1890, retaining the latter's services as lawyer. He further then informed del Pilar that he was going to Madrid in order to supervise the handling of the case. To my muse. It was against a background of mental anguish in Brussels during those sad days when he was worried by family disasters that he wrote his pathetic poem, Ami, or To My Muse. This poem lacks the exquisiteness of To the Filipino Flowers of Heidelberg, and it is less polished than To the Filipino Youth, but it is passionate in feeling. Romance in Petit Jacobi. There are two things that brought measure of cheer to Rizal as he prepared for his trip to Madrid. First is the summertime festival of Belgium, which was celebrated in a carnival style with colorful costumes, fantastic floats, and many days of merriment. Second was his romance with Petit Jacobi, the pretty niece of his landladies. Rizal was a charming and dignified gentleman that Petite Suzanne was attracted to him. He was lonely in a strange country, and Leonor Rivera was so far away. So naturally, being a normal young man, he found certain bliss in the company of a pretty Belgian girl. He might have flirted with Petite Suzanne, but he could not stoop low to a deceptive amorous relationship. So that was the end of my report and also the end of chapter 16 in Belgian Brussels 1890. Under are the sources where you could visit if you want to read more about the chapter 16 in Belgian Brussels of Officer Rizal's story. Thank you very much for listening and have a good day.